Deploying containers to Azure doesn't have to be complicated.
Sounds tough.
In this video, I will show you how Azure Container Apps makes it easy and why it's a game changer. Hi everyone, I'm Lionel, your MCT and MVP, and this video is part of my Azure Container Apps playlist. I'm making this video because ACA or Azure Container Apps is a relatively new service, and I have noticed that many people struggle to see its full potential. But the truth is, it can save a ton of time, especially for development teams. Azure offers a lot of solutions for containerization. If you are still unsure which one to pick, I have made a detailed comparison video, so check it out with the link displayed somewhere on the screen or in the video description. Azure Container Apps, or ACA, is here to solve specific challenges. It sits right between ACI and AKS, offering the best of both worlds. Indeed, you get orchestration and advanced features that ACI doesn't provide, and unlike AKS, you don't have to worry about managing infrastructure. So in simple terms, ACA lets you run containerized applications without dealing with the complexity of infrastructure. ACA is currently built on top of AKS and is powered by KIDA, Dapper, and Envoy. KIDA stands for Kubernetes Event-Driven Autoscaling and is here to automatically scale your deployment replicas based on events or workloads. Dapper is a toolkit that makes building microservices easier and more efficient for developers, and Envoy handles traffic routing and security, replacing the need of an ingress like with AKS. In my opinion, there are 4 scenarios where ACL really shines. First, with traffic splitting, so it's perfect for testing new features or releases directly in production. Also with background processing, to run batch jobs that start and stop based on external triggers. With event-driven apps, you can scale your apps automatically when specific events occur. And obviously microservices, so instead of deploying one app service per microservice, ACA lets you host multiple microservices in a simple environment, simplifying management and scaling with KIDA. Now let's talk about Azure Container Apps terminology and architecture. An environment in ACA is a secure boundary that contains one or more container apps and jobs. So think of it as the Kubernetes cluster, basically, where you can create multiple namespaces for your applications. All container apps inside an environment share the same virtual network, they log to the same Azure Log Analytics workspace, and the ACA runtime takes care of OS upgrades, scaling, failover, and resource balancing, so you don't have to. Inside an environment, you have, as I just said, container apps. So this is where you deploy your containers and microservices. You can use any runtime, programming language, or tech stack you prefer. Linux containers only are supported, that's really important, and you can deploy from public or private registries. And also, each container app can run multiple containers. Now, let's talk about revisions, one of the most powerful features in ACA. Managing changes in cloud-native applications can be tricky. You need a way to track updates, ensure uptime, and roll back smoothly when needed. With revisions, it's possible because they are a snapshot of your container app at a specific point in time. They are also immutable because once created, a revision never changes. They are version. Each revision captures a specific version of your app, and auto-provision because the first time you deploy a container app, a revision is created automatically. Also, some changes affect all revisions, we call them application scope, while others create a new revisions, we call them revision scope. You can store up to 100 inactive revisions and adjust this limit manually. You can run multiple revisions at the same time, which is great for testing in production. And a key benefit with revisions is definitely traffic splitting. You can send part of your traffic to a new revision while keeping the old one active. This allows you to test updates in production with zero downtime. And finally, you can also name your revisions using a custom suffix like the one displayed on the screen, container app name -revision suffix, for instance. Now let's talk about container apps jobs, a different way to run containers in ACA. Instead of running always-on web applications, jobs are designed to short-lived tasks like start, execute, and exit when finished. So they are perfect for specific use cases like data processing, machine learning tasks, on-demand workloads. And just like container apps, jobs run in the same environment, meaning they share networking and logging. Let's walk through the process of creating an Azure Container App step by step. First, we create a resource group to organize all our resources. Next, we head to the marketplace to create our Azure Container App service. You give your ACA a meaningful name. You choose where your container image comes from. You can use an existing image from a registry like Docker Hub or Azure Container Registry. You can also provide a Docker file, or you can provide your source code and ACA will automatically build the container image for you. Now let's create a new environment to see the different options we have. We give it a name. Optionally, we can enable redundancy for high availability. In the workload profile tab, as you can see, by default it uses consumption only mode, which are basically D4 instances, but you can add custom workload profiles to specify instance types, more CPU, memory, or even GPU. Back on Containers Apps configuration, in the monitoring menu, we can define where logs will be sent, Log Analytics, Azure Monitor, or you can disable logs. And in the networking tab, you choose whether to allow traffic from the internet or restrict it to a private network. Optionally, you can set up a private endpoint for secure access. Finally, configure the container image. We will use the quick start image. We have information displayed related to consumption and ingress. We can click create to deploy our Azure Container App. Once the ACA is created, let's dive into its key features and menus. In the overview menu, you will find basic information like the URL to access your application. In revisions, we can see that after deploying our ACA, we already have a revision. It's a snapshot of your app at that point in time. In containers, we can see details about your containers, such as the image source, tag, and status. In scale, you can configure replicas and auto-scaling. It's a cool feature because you can scale down to 0 replica to save cost when the app isn't in use. In volumes, you can add persistent storage using Azure File Share or ephemeral storage for temporary data. In authentication, you can set up identity providers, for example Google or Twitter, to enable user authentication to your apps. In secrets, you will be able to manage sensitive data like passwords or API keys. You can either create secrets directly in this menu or link it to an Azure Key Vault. You will have to use a managed identity for secure access to Key Vault. And in ingress, you can control how your app is accessed, so you can allow public or private traffic. You can also filter traffic for security. In custom domains, you can replace the default URL with your own custom domain. You can link a certificate managed by Microsoft or your own. And in Dapper, as you can imagine, you can enable Dapper to simplify microservices development. In identity, you will be able to assign a managed identity to your service to secure access to other Azure services, for example the Azure Key Vault. And in logs, you can view console logs or system logs for troubleshooting. You can also use Logstream to monitor logs in real time. And in console, you can access an interactive shell to manage your app just like in AKS. But what about you? Are you using Azure Container Apps? What's your favorite feature and how are you using it in your project? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your feedback. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for dropping by my channel today. Here are some other videos that might interest you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be informed of the weekly updates. Let's keep growing a fantastic learning community together. My goal is to assist as many people as possible on their cloud and DevOps learning journey. That's it, take care and see you next time.